Claire stood by the window, gazing out at the manicured garden with a sense of foreboding. She had returned to her brother David's home with a heavy heart, seeking solace after a devastating breakup. But the warm welcome she had hoped for was overshadowed by the presence of Emma, David's wife. Emma, with her perfect smile and pristine life, seemed to have everything Claire had ever wanted. Claire turned away from the window as she heard Emma's voice drifting in from the kitchen. The sound grated on her nerves. Determined not to let her emotions show, she forced a smile and joined Emma. "Good morning, Emma," Claire said, her voice sugary sweet. "I thought I'd help with breakfast today." Emma's smile seemed strained. "That's kind of you, Claire." "Thank you." Claire's eyes flickered with a hint of malice as she buttered the toast. She couldn't help but feel a surge of satisfaction seeing Emma's discomfort. This was her chance to reclaim some semblance of control in her life, to prove that she still mattered in David's world. David walked in, his face lighting up when he saw the two women. "Morning, ladies. Everything looks wonderful." Claire beamed. "I just wanted to make things easier for Emma. I know how hard it can be managing the house." Emma shot Claire a wary glance but decided to let it slide. "Thanks, Claire." The morning passed uneventfully, but Claire's mind was already working on her next move. She knew she had to be careful, to play the long game. She needed to plant seeds of doubt in David's mind about Emma, but subtly, so it would appear as though Emma was unraveling on her own. Claire's opportunity came sooner than expected. That afternoon, she received a message from an old friend. It was perfect timing. She left her phone on the kitchen counter, making sure it was in Emma's line of sight. The message buzzed, and Claire pretended not to notice as she stepped out of the room. From the hallway, she peeked back to see Emma glancing at the phone, her eyes narrowing as she read the message. "Did you tell David about her yet? He needs to know." Claire smirked. Emma's curiosity would be her downfall. Later that day, Claire made sure to catch David alone. "David, can we talk?" David looked up from his work, his expression softening. "Of course, Claire. What's on your mind?" Claire hesitated, feigning concern. "It's about Emma. I don't want to cause any trouble, but I've noticed she's been acting strangely." David frowned. "What do you mean?" Claire sighed, choosing her words carefully. "I think she's hiding something from you. I saw her looking at my phone earlier, and she seemed very upset. I'm worried about her, David." David's brow furrowed. "I'll talk to her. Thanks for letting me know, Claire." That evening, as Claire expected, David confronted Emma. She listened from her room, a triumphant smile on her lips as their voices grew louder. "Emma, were you looking at Claire's phone today?" David asked, his tone accusatory. "I wasn't spying. I just happened to see." "Enough, Emma." David snapped. "Claire is family. You need to stop this." Emma's response was muffled, but Claire could hear the hurt in her voice. Perfect. The wedge was in place. The days turned into weeks, and Claire's manipulations became more overt. She would accidentally leave out personal items that could be misconstrued, like a friend's earring or a half-empty wine glass. Each time, she made sure David noticed and drew his own conclusions. One evening, she found Emma in the study, poring over old family photos. "What are you doing, Emma?" Emma looked up, her eyes red from crying. "Just looking at some memories." Claire's lips curled into a mock sympathy. "I know this must be hard for you. Family can be so complicated." Emma's gaze hardened. "What are you really after, Claire?" Claire raised an eyebrow. "I'm just trying to help, Emma. You should know that by now." As the tension escalated, Claire decided it was time for a more direct approach. She began to spread rumors about Emma's fidelity, whispering to David and their friends about Emma's supposed indiscretions. She even staged a late-night phone call, pretending to be a concerned friend. "David, I hate to say this, but I think Emma is having an affair," she whispered into the phone, making sure David overheard. David confronted Emma that night, his voice shaking with anger. "Emma, is there something you need to tell me?" Emma looked shocked. "What are you talking about, David? Are you seeing someone else?" David's eyes were filled with hurt. Emma's face crumpled. "No, David. I would never." "Then why are people saying you are?" David demanded. Emma's voice broke. "Because Claire is lying. She's trying to turn you against me." David looked torn, his trust in Emma wavering. "I don't know what to believe anymore." As the days passed, Claire's plan seemed to be working. David grew more distant from Emma, and Claire reveled in her success. But her victory was short-lived. One afternoon, Emma confronted Claire with a steely determination Claire hadn't seen before. "We need to talk." Claire feigned innocence. "About what?" "About your lies. I know what you're doing, and I have proof." Claire's eyes flashed with anger. "You don't know anything." Emma stood her ground. "I know enough. And I'm going to tell David everything." Claire laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "You really think he'll believe you over me?" "You're so naive, Emma." That evening, as Emma laid out her evidence before David, Claire's heart pounded. She had underestimated Emma's resolve. David's face paled as he looked at the documents Emma had gathered. This can't be true," he murmured. "It is, David. Claire has been manipulating us all along," Emma said, her voice steady. David's expression shifted from disbelief to fury. He stormed into the living room where Claire sat, sipping wine. "Claire, we need to talk." Claire looked up, feigning surprise. "What is it, David?" David threw the papers onto the table. "Explain this." Claire's eyes widened, but she quickly recovered, her voice calm. "Those are lies, David. Emma is trying to turn you against me." David shook his head. "I don't believe you anymore, Claire. You've gone too far." Claire's mask of calm shattered. "You can't do this to me. I'm your sister. And Emma is my wife," David said, his voice firm. "It's time for you to leave." As Claire packed her things, she shot Emma a look filled with pure hatred. "This isn't over," she hissed. "I'll make you pay." In the days that followed, Claire's mind was consumed with thoughts of revenge. She couldn't let Emma win. As she drove away from David's house, she vowed to find a way to reclaim her place in his life, no matter the cost. The battle had only just begun, and Claire was ready to play her next hand. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next thrilling chapter.